Big Meech, one of the country's biggest drug dealers, has finally walked out of federal prison. But how is that even possible? Speculation in the air, and some people in the social media arena demanding to see his paperwork. So today, we got it for you. On November 19, 2007, Big Meech's run on the streets and the way he was getting money all ended when he pled guilty to a continuing criminal enterprise in violation of 21 U.S.C. 848 and conspiracy to launder money instruments in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1956. No bodies and no responsibility for anyone dying, even though some say he was a real gangster, one of the realest the streets had seen. He had power and people would follow him, do as he said. His plea was taken contemplating a sentencing guideline range of 360 months to life, based on a total offense level of 42 and a criminal history category of 2. On September 12, 2008, Big Meech would be sentenced to a term of 360 months imprisonment, or 30 years, by a good judge, some would say. The bottom of his guideline range. The judge could have given him life, but decided not to. Big Meech, an intelligent dude, had to know that his time would run out at some point. When you're getting big money, and sometimes people are getting laid down, it's bound to end. But did he ever contemplate that he would be in his mid-50s at the age of 56 when he would walk back out into the real world? In 2005, he would do an interview and say, "Everybody moved like brothers, and everybody from different places. Milwaukee, St. Louis, Detroit, Texas, Atlanta, Cali, Florida. Everybody moved as one. Everybody is prospering in some kind of way in their own way. Every man plays his own role. Everything starts with the leader. I'm a good leader, so I got good people that follow. Simple." Publicly, he would tell the world on a DVD that he was the leader of BMF. This could have been the beginning of his demise. Sometimes being the man in public can come back to get you, and for Meech it did. The same with people like John Gotti. But the drug game, like all street shit, gets real. But how did it all start? And now, how did it all end? And how did one of the biggest drug dealers in the U.S. make it out of federal prison? In 1989, Big Meech and his brother Southwest T probably never imagined that growing up in Detroit, when they set out on their mission, that they would reach the status that they would. From a prison cell, Big Meech would say, "If you want to know the reason for us getting in the game, it was just about being poor, man. We on welfare at the gas station with food stamps. We keep catching the bus with holes in the bottom of your shoes. That was the motivation. We got to do something. Fast. Once me and my brother got a real taste of money, it's like you don't ever want that feeling to go away." And from that desire, the Black Mafia family was born by the street-smart, wildly ambitious, and bodacious Detroit-raised brothers, Demetrius and Terry Flenory, better known as Big Meech and Southwest T in 1989. And from that point forward, they never looked back, at least not until the feds were putting cuffs on both brothers. Through passionate aspirations, things would start out small. As they started getting money, they were looking to meet the big guys that could make all their street life dreams a reality, and soon they would. They would find a direct Mexican cocaine supplier, and then it got real. BMF, the Black Mafia family, would become one of the largest cocaine suppliers the U.S. had ever seen, transporting its products through a family-owned car service. By the early 2000s, BMF had established a flashy and nightlife-driven entertainment front that the world was watching, expanding across the U.S., including Alabama, Cali, Florida, the ATL, Kentucky, Louisiana, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, North Carolina, Ohio, and Tennessee. From the South to the West to the Midwest. People would see them everywhere, and everyone that was somebody in the streets wanted to be a part of this organization that was getting real money. As Meech said, everybody is brothers, and everybody getting it. During its last days, BMF had over 500 members. They were strong in all ways. In the early days, just because they were getting money never meant that they were immune to the dangers that come with hustling in the street. In the late 80s, Southwest T was shot in the right eye and left with partial sight permanently. Big Meech, he too was shot and wounded on 2 separate occasions. Once in the neck outside of a Chinese restaurant in the late 80s, and another time in the ass during a 2004 shooting outside an Atlanta nightclub, following an argument with former Puff Daddy bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones, who was killed in the altercation. And we all know about Puff Daddy and his crew as of late. Whether Wolf Jones was on ass, you'll never know. On the rise, Big Meech and Southwest T endured turf wars, conquering regional territories, survivor's remorse, and most of all, the scars that come with war. People have seen the lives that youngsters growing up poor in the hood had glamorized in BMF. Kids in the hood, a lot of times, glamorize drug dealers because those are the only role models they ever really see. And Big Meech and Southwest T were once those youngsters, but now they had become those men that young kids glamorize. Outside the drugs and racketeering, BMF was best known for their lavish lifestyle, including 13 multi-million-dollar mansions across the U.S., the latest luxury car fleets at their beck and call, a direct line to limitless amounts of jewelry from the world-famous trader, Jacob the Jeweler, an expensive wardrobe. Big Meech and Southwest T credited their addiction to the flashy accessories and fashion to the trend-setting drug dealers they saw growing up, like Detroit's, the Chamber Brothers, and Young Boys Incorporation. In time, like all good things or things that seem to be good, the brothers were starting to beef. At the organization's high point, Southwest T's meticulous control and Big Meech's desire for wanting to be seen as that dude, on top of sibling rivalry, caused a beef between two brothers that always said nothing would get in their way. It would lead to cracks appearing in the organization. People would talk behind closed doors, and some would choose sides. Later on, some would often recall the brothers' public spats over the smallest issues in interviews. Eventually, each brother's unwillingness to relinquish full control to the other caused an implosion, and with it, some dysfunction. The two brothers would come together like real businessmen and divide the empire they built on dreams from being young and broke. T would relocate to Los Angeles to be closer to the Connect, according to the feds, and keep a closer eye on the business, while Meech would operate in Atlanta. The division resulted in people choosing who they wanted to rock with, the flamboyant Big Meech or the laid-back Southwest T. In Atlanta, Big Meech became attracted to the music industry, and looking for bigger things, he would launch BMF Entertainment in 2000. Known for his larger-than-life persona that fit perfectly with the entertainment industry's addiction to spectacle, Big Meech and BMF was hip-hop's hottest new company with the launch of a record label and media outlet. They were blowing money fast. Everybody in the ATL wanted to get close to Big Meech, even the feds. Little did he know, he was under the microscope. As the genre evolved from an unknown phenomenon that told real-life stories to the most influential music style in the world, rap's future legends like T.I., Jeezy, Diddy, Jay-Z, and 50 Cent befriended or encountered Big Meech. Stories of Meech's countless nightclub escapades with 100-plus entourages and unbelievable luxury items are told by artists to this day. Big Meech wanted to be big, and no one could stop him, or so he thought. Only the feds. Pusha T would once rap, "Where were you when Big Meech brought the Tigers in?" A reference to the jungle-themed birthday party at Magic City, where two white tigers were brought into the festivities. Jeezy recalled Big Meech, who was fairly new in the music industry at the time, pulling up to his music video shoot for Soul Survivor in a one-of-kind Maybach and parking it right next to Jay-Z, the president of Def Jam Recordings, for bragging rights. Jay was getting money the legit way now, but he too had once been a part of the streets. Big Meech was still getting it the old-fashioned way, but was on to bigger and better things, or so he thought. Big Meech was still chasing the dream, and Big Meech would demand respect from everyone around him. I first heard about it BMF in 2003. 50 Cent would tell DJ Drama in a 2019 Sirius XM radio show. They were so embedded in the music business because when you can find your pockets, people like you around. When you're at the nightclub and Puffy can't buy champagne because you bought all of it, they start to have to speak to you. I stayed away from it because I know who I am, and I know how easy it is for me to, I might have brought something, or I might have bought something. I might have got too involved or too into it, or it would be easy enough for people to make me involved without me being involved. I was doing too well. They would reach out to me, and I would avoid it because it just wasn't good for where I was at in life. Many of the once street dudes knew that something was coming when you're in the game, so some people that had already made it knew to stay out the way, anticipating that eventually the feds would be coming, and that they did. When you're spending millions on a night of fun times, people are talking. Like all good things, what comes up sometimes must come down. And nothing ever really lasts in the drug game, does it? Following a 15-year investigation by combined local and federal task forces, including the IRS, that resulted in a report of more than 900 pages of wiretaps, informants seized financial records and surveillance, Big Meech and Southwest T were arrested on drugs and racketeering charges in 2005. Orchestrated raids would take down the brothers, Southwest T in St. Louis, Missouri, and Big Meech in Frisco, Texas, along with 150 BMF affiliates. The pressure was on, and they knew it was coming, but it was too late. While Southwest T was arrested first, it's documented in federal paperwork that Big Meech was offered the opportunity to flee to Mexico to avoid capture from law enforcement. He made a lot of the big boys rich, and they actually liked him. However, he refused and would flee to Miami, then Frisco, where he was eventually arrested. At the time of the RICO indictment, the empire was reportedly worth, according to the feds, $270 million. Both Big Meech and Southwest T pleaded guilty to being the ringleaders in 2007, and both were sentenced to 30 years of federal imprisonment in September 2008. Southwest T was released from a Kentucky prison in 2020 after serving 22 years and receiving a reduced sentence due to the coronavirus outbreak and Donald Trump's First Step Act allowing compassionate release to prisoners that deserved a second chance or those that were in danger. So that's how Southwest T really got out. Big Meech, he too would file a compassionate release based on his ill health due to the coronavirus that same year. But the judge would deny it. But that wasn't over yet for Meech. There were other plans. The law would change under what Congress would label Amendment 821 and 782. And now Big Meech would, as he always done, go get the best, Brittany Barnett, the same attorney who helped free DC legend Tony Lewis and so many others. His sentence had already been reduced from 360 months to life to 324 months to 405 months. On June 14th, under Amendment 781, the judge reduced that to 324 months and or 27 years. With Brittany locked in once again, she would argue that Meech's new guideline under Amendment 821 would be even lower. In the feds, everything is done on charts, and in this case, Meech's criminal history score would change from a 2 to a 1, under what is called status points. In the feds, if you were on probation or parole at the time of the offense, you get these points. But with the changes in law, those points were to go away. As Brittany would write in her motion, Mr. Flenory's current guideline range, Judge, is based on a total offense level of 40 and a criminal history category of 2. With the elimination of status points, Mr. Flenory is left with a single criminal history point, placing him in a criminal history category 1. This adjustment results in a revised guideline range of 292 to 365 months. The government agreed. The law is the law, and with that, the judge reduced Meech's sentence. Judge Lawson would reduce the sentence to 24 years, and now the hood legend was released to Miami at the age of 56 to live his best life. That is how Big Meech really got out early. I think I'm Big Meech. Oh, Larry Hoover, whipping work, hallelujah. One nation under God, real nigga getting money from the fucking start. I think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover, getting work, hallelujah. One nation under God, real nigga getting money from the fucking start.